Alright, what'd I miss?
Start battle!
What the fuck? Super Smash Bros. Ultimate is often hailed as the climax of the Smash Bros. Series as we know it. From the very start, the game's selling point is that it has the most cracked character roster out of any video game out there. Sure, you have massive crossovers with pop culture icons, or fan games where you can mod in any character you want, but the Super Smash Bros. Franchise has a prestigious legacy and level of quality that simply hasn't been matched. And it's not just every fighter coming back. Most stages, music tracks, and miscellaneous characters make appearances in some way. According to the game's director and series creator, Masahiro Sakurai, he decided to bring every fighter back since he had the same team from Super Smash Bros. 4, Bandai Namco, and could use their game as a foundation. And with the Smash Fighter ballot results, the team discovered how much people wanted these cut characters to return, so it reaffirmed Sakurai's decision to make the most popular choice. Speaking of the Smash Bros. Fighter ballot, the entire reason Nintendo created the poll was to see which characters fans wanted to appear in the game as playable fighters. And while it was intended for Smash 4's DLC lineup, it was really tailor-made to determine the roster for Ultimate. But while fan demand matters a ton, it doesn't necessarily signify whether a character is a good fit for Smash Bros. So what makes a character a good fit for Super Smash Bros.? The short answer given to us is that the character has to originate from a video game, as Smash's identity is all about celebrating video game history. You can make the argument that licensed games, especially in recent times, have made a significant impact in the games industry and that it's worth representing in Super Smash Bros., but if Sakurai disagrees with that notion, then characters like Goku will simply never appear in the game. But I firmly believe there is a long answer. There are a lot of videos discussing their own interpretations regarding character inclusions for Smash. And to tell you the truth, I think a majority of these perspectives don't capture the core appeal of the series. A common sentiment made nowadays is that Smash Ultimate's pre-release press was especially toxic given the impossible feats Sakurai achieved in terms of in-game content. Like, the hype for Smash Ultimate before it came out was simply unmatched. So what is that long answer? Why are some characters deemed a better fit over others? I have to assume Sakurai created a special set of criteria when determining characters. A criteria that isn't just about the character's legacy, their significance to Nintendo, and general references for their movesets. There has to be a logical approach that considers how fun it would be to play a character, as well as how to develop them. While I don't have any connections, nor do I personally know Sakurai, this is specifically my interpretation on how fighters are included in Super Smash Bros. There are 4 factors to consider when picking and developing fighters: their design, their personality, their legacy, and their ease of implementation. Keep in mind that these factors do not exist in a vacuum. Game development is a highly collaborative and strenuous task that needs to follow an exact procedure in order to realize a product. I mention this because Smash's selling point is the character roster and how people talk about which characters to include. So let's break down each factor in more detail. A character's design is how their moveset could play out in a Smash Bros. Game. I want to emphasize in a Smash Bros. Game, meaning the direction of that character is beholden to what Sakurai considers a unique gameplay mechanic or feature. Playable characters in Super Smash Bros. Have to fulfill some kind of uniqueness that warrants their inclusion. I can't think of a better character chosen for their design than the Ice Climbers. In Melee, the Ice Climbers were chosen as a retro Nintendo character that Sakurai and the team could do something new with. Not many people talked about the Ice Climbers as a potential inclusion, but their unique role made their inclusion worthwhile. They've carved their own identity as Super Smash Bros.' first duo character, with combo routes where you're required to desync both Popo and Nana to maximize damage, something no other character does. Honestly, the Ice Climbers have become much more beloved as Smash Bros. Characters than they ever were in their own game, and people were understandably disappointed with the removal in Smash 4. Speaking of which, the roster for Super Smash Bros. For 3DS and Wii U expanded on this philosophy by giving characters a theme. The characters chosen during Smash 4's development cycle prioritized fighter candidates that encompassed a unique design attribute that helps them stand out. Rosalina serves as a puppet fighter, Robin as a resource management character who stands out from Marth and Ike, and Duck Hunt as this game's new surprise character with a different theme altogether from the Ice Climbers and Rob who preceded them. Next up, the term personality has been brought up by Sakurai in the past. There are at least 2 character inclusions that were decided entirely based on their personality. First off, when including him in Brawl, Sakurai said, "A highlight of Wario is that he actually has a Famicom-like movement style. Given the silly nature of the WarioWare series, it felt appropriate to assign Wario a comical role. I thought it would be good to have at least one character that ate other fighters and stuff. It's important that every character has an individual trait that is unique to them." This unique identity, in tandem with his overall popularity, made Wario a high priority pick for Super Smash Bros. Wario fulfills a role that was conceived from his personality, and not so much from a potential moveset. It's common knowledge that Wario was almost added to Melee as a fighter, but in my opinion, I don't think his moveset would have been too different from what we were introduced to in Brawl. Up next, when discussing the challenges of implementing Sephiroth into a Smash Bros. Game, Sakurai remarked, "Many of Smash's DLC characters are protagonists, and it's rare for an antagonist or a rival character to be added. I wanted Sephiroth to feel like a boss character, with boss-like strength that players can enjoy. With that in mind, I chose to make the Sephiroth challenge available for a limited time, which made development a bit of a nightmare. The game mode itself was easy enough, but tweaking balance took an extraordinary amount of time and effort both before and after his release. The Sephiroth challenge was a game mode that let players fight and unlock Sephiroth before his official release date as a DLC fighter. This extra mode was developed to really sell Sephiroth's personality as a ruthless boss character. Using the same system when determining Wario, Sephiroth's overall presence in Smash Ultimate was conceived from his personality as the most evil motherfucker of all time. His moveset also plays into that villainous personality by having ridiculously long sword attacks and special moves you fear getting hit by because of their insane damage output. To Sakurai, Sephiroth was a fun personality to develop in Super Smash Bros. With his iconic presence and the lack of Final Fantasy content in Smash Ultimate's base game, Sephiroth ended up as a high priority pick for Ultimate's DLC lineup. There's obviously some overlap with a fighter's design and their personality, but I think you get the idea on how these two factors are distinct from each other. Moving on! A character's legacy is where you see the most discussion among the gaming community. This details a character's status in the video game industry, what's popular in gaming at the time and to Smash fans specifically, and why certain characters should get in. Obviously, Mario, Link, Samus, and Donkey Kong are evergreen Nintendo characters that should be in every single Smash Bros. Game until the end of time, but I want to highlight 2 characters that got into Smash Ultimate purely based on their demand from the Smash fan base. Up first, Ridley was one of the most highly demanded Nintendo characters for the past 20 years, and a character people thought was impossible to include as a playable fighter due to his size and how difficult he'd be to implement. During Smash for Wii U's development, Sakurai issued the following statement regarding Ridley's appearance as a boss character. I definitely know that Ridley's a much anticipated name for fans, but if we made Ridley as a fighter, it wouldn't be Ridley any longer. It'd have to be shrunk down, or its wings reduced in size, or be unable to fly around freely. Providing accurate portrayals of characters is something I want to pay ample attention to. Instead of going through a lot of very convoluted hocus pocus to make Ridley a fighter, I figured it'd be better to keep Ridley as it currently is, the correct way, to have it feel like a truly threatening presence. The Ridley debate before Smash Ultimate may have been the dumbest online debate I have ever partaken in, and I'm glad Sakurai swallowed his pride and just put Ridley in the game. Saying Ridley is too big is just being dismissive over a non-issue that no one really cares about. So allow me to dig this fucking debate back from the grave and blast you fucking anti-Ridley debate bros for acting absolutely ridiculous and petty. 15 years in the fucking making, bitch! First of all, what's stopping Super Smash Bros. From including outside-the-box ideas into their fighters? Why couldn't Ridley have been the first giant character? What if Ridley was just sized down and they emphasized his cruel personality instead? What's stopping Sakurai or anyone from adapting Ridley to fit in the game as a fighter? What's stopping Sakurai or anyone making Smash from doing something new with a playable fighter? Second of all, othering Ridley supporters as a team sport is the quickest way to out yourself as a closed-minded secondary citizen that should have the remaining years on this miserable planet revoked. You spent years of your life online bullying people for wanting to play as a video game character they like in a video game they enjoy. Terms such as Ridley and Ridley hentai were popular anti-Ridley lingo just to slam dunk Ridley supporters because they thought it'd be fun to play as Ridley from Metroid in a Nintendo game. This Nintendo character in this Nintendo game. It's really not that deep. Third of all, people changed their minds. The sentiment behind the Ridley debate was a giant echo chamber that didn't need to happen. I don't look back at Smash speculation and say, remember the days when Ridley was too big? Back when times were simpler and Smash was actually exciting? I can almost guarantee you that Sakurai would disagree with the anti-Ridley camp much more for both misinterpreting his word and using it to dogpile on other people in pointless internet drama. I think he'd rather make Ridley playable to make other people happy. And if you think I'm letting Sakurai completely off the hook, then you'd be wrong. I fail to see the restrictions around Ridley when we have even more busted characters in this same game. Why couldn't Ridley be the height of Ganondorf while hunched over? Why couldn't Ridley have 4 or 5 jumps like other multi-jump characters? Why can't you aim Ridley's up special in one of 8 directions like some other fighters? Why doesn't he have his pogo tail from Super Metroid as a down air? From Ridley's actual moveset, you can tell Sakurai and the developers have a good understanding of his character and how he should act, but they didn't fully realize him in this game. I don't see his size being an issue since other fighting games have had giant characters. Plus, he'd be an easy target. So while his design needs a bit of retooling, I think his core moveset outside of his stupid fucking goofy ass down air is fine. And I'm so fucking glad we can move on from this stupid fucking dumbass argument. These were not good times and should never be remembered as such. We needed to make Ridley playable just to move on, and Sakurai understood the assignment. So did all the anti-Ridley debate bros protest Sakurai and the game for putting him in? Where did they all go after he was included? Oh, fuck these pathetic fucking losers that derive joy from spiting other people. Fuck any other character debates that limit creativity and enjoyment of the game. Fuck echo chambers and fuck you. Next! King K. Rool is the main antagonist of the Donkey Kong Country series, and another Nintendo character on the level of Ridley in terms of demand. In Sakurai's Famitsu column volume 561, following the August 2018 Smash Ultimate Direct, I referred to the Smash ballot when selecting characters this time, and King K. Rool from the Donkey Kong Country series was one who received a ton of votes. In order to make him more K. Rool-esque, we had to make sure he stood up perfectly straight. Of course, we couldn't make him too tall, however, so please forgive us for shrinking him down a bit. Kidding Then again, it isn't like anything else in Smash is to scale anyway. King K. Rool soon became a fan favorite among the player base, with his strong stature and armor mechanic that helps him stand out from a design standpoint. In fact, I believe K. Rool should be revered as one of the best character inclusions in Super Smash Bros. For the following reasons. His design is unique enough while remaining easy to pick up and play. A lot of people used him early on in the game's life to the point that it made Sakurai concerned if he was overpowered or not. Even if that isn't the case, he's a heavy hitter with strong zoning tools that make fighting against him tricky. I think many people find him fun to use because of his simple gameplay loop and zany attack animations that paint him as some insane bastard. His personality expands on his sheer absurdity as a villain. Back in the SNES with the original Donkey Kong Country trilogy, he was an end boss that was deceptive and cruel to the player. He fakes you out at the end of the game with a fake credits roll, only to attack you again. He steals bananas not because he likes to eat them, but to make the Kong starve just for the hell of it. This time around, K. Rool is off the hinges, running on all fours while bulldozing through attacks. His cape is beaten up as if he returned from the dead, like he's back with a vengeance, fighting Donkey Kong on sight like that fucking Family Guy chicken. His legacy as a video game character was both established before his inclusion in Smash Ultimate and was revitalized because of Smash Ultimate. People were making full-blown K. Rool for Smash campaigns for being a memorable Nintendo antagonist with a lot of potential for a fun moveset. He was a recurring Nintendo villain from a popular evergreen franchise, and after K. Rool was included, he soon became a highly utilized character that people remember for both his design and the remix of Gameplay Galleon. Actually, can we talk about the Gameplay Galleon remix for a second? This song went viral for how good it was, raking in millions of views per upload, and it's a big band arrangement that quite literally evolves K. Rool's character. This arrangement tells you how he's so fucking back with a rap section that's meant to one-up the DK rap on top of incorporating some type of motivation theory that sounds empowering while telling you why you should care about K. Rool coming back. All through this music track, they did not have to go in that hard for a fucking Gameplay Galleon remix. Oh, and he seems to have been easy to implement by having a clearly defined set of special moves that references boss fights. His belly armor mechanic was a way Sakurai could do something new with K. Rool that made him unique from the other heavyweight fighters. Like how is he not the perfect inclusion? Anyway, Smash Bros. Has the privilege of giving video game franchises and their characters a new identity or greatly spreading awareness of that series' appeal. Without it, most people would have forgotten about games like Earthbound and Kid Icarus. Characters like Fox and Captain Falcon wouldn't become faces of Nintendo, and in more recent times, people wouldn't check out games like Dragon Quest or The King of Fighters after being introduced to those worlds through Smash Ultimate's DLC. Moving on! Ease of implementation is a separate category where the other rules don't apply. This factor involves any clone characters and other returning characters that people want to see appear in the game. The easiest example are Ultimate's Echo Fighters, a batch of clone characters that are solely there to expand series representation on the roster. Echo Fighters usually have their own legacy or distinct personality that justify their inclusion at the expense of having a unique design. In previous Smash games, clone characters often got backlash as people thought characters like Lucina and Dark Pit in Smash 4 were taking up slots from other highly requested characters. Sakurai's thought process went as followed. This is like a free dessert after a luxurious meal and was prepared free of charge. In a restaurant with this type of service, I don't think there's anybody who would say, change this to a meat dish. To address this criticism, Sakurai rebranded the clone characters as Echo Fighters as a way to entice people on the merits of having clone characters in fighting games. Clone characters, and thus ease of implementation, have always been a factor in each Smash game since the very beginning, and now we fully embrace the concept of Echo Fighters in Smash Ultimate. People want clone characters nowadays, and I hope we get a larger batch of Echo Fighters in the next Smash Bros. Game. But Echo Fighters aren't the only kinds of characters to talk about. There are also variants of existing characters. The term you'll hear a lot is semi-clone, which describes a clone character but with more effort put into them. And in this video essay, I'm going to tell you why that's a fucking crock of shit and how semi-clones don't adequately adequately cover what the idea of variants are. I'm pulling the term variants from Sakurai's Smash Bros. Special project proposal that was made in December of 2015. I believe variants are fighters that intentionally put a spin on an existing fighter's archetype as a means to up the roster count without having to create assets fully from scratch. First up, Isabelle in Ultimate was a newcomer that was designed as a variant of Villager. When designing Isabelle as a fighter, Sakurai clarified in volume 563 of his Famitsu column that Isabelle is based off of Villager. Go figure. She pockets items and rides a balloon swing. However, she is not an Echo fighter. This is because Isabelle and Villager have fundamentally different body types and personalities, so we couldn't have made her an Echo. All of her animations are different. Not a single one is the same. While Echo fighters are the easiest to develop, variants need to have all of their animations recreated from the base fighter in order to better represent them. In this case, Isabelle has a standout personality as a cutesy, off-the-cuff character who's more low-key than the bombastic showstoppers like Ridley and King K. Rool. Her spin on Villager's moveset was based on her personality and the role she plays in Animal Crossing New Leaf, where she was in charge of managing public works projects. They could at least use Villager as a foundation, then tweak the properties in each of her attacks afterwards. Next. Weaklings, the lot of them. Wolf was another variant Sakurai discussed back in Brawl. He states that in order to create a character like Crystal, we didn't have any of the technical modeling or knowledge that we had cultivated with Fox and Falco, so it was like making a brand new character from scratch. With Wolf, we already had some knowledge of how to model his character and would require about 70% of the effort required to create a whole new character. If we're gonna estimate using numerical values, I assume Isabelle in Ultimate also took about 70% of the effort of creating a new character. This factor also includes decloning characters like Falco and Ganondorf in Brawl onwards. In essence, these fighters have a foundation based on an existing character already in the game and are purely meant to expand on the roster while lessening the labor it takes to develop a new fighter from scratch. That more or less covers ease of implementation. To summarize, the rosters in each Super Smash Bros. Game are comprised of a wide variety of characters that manage to get in through their own unique mix of circumstances. Throughout the years, I became enamored with Smash character speculation, from the possibilities of how a character could be implemented in this game and the level of detail that we can really get into. The lineup for Super Smash Bros. Ultimate is batshit insane, but it's the polish and attention to detail in each character inclusion that really makes people passionate about this franchise, and the developers know that. The Smash series, according to Sakurai, has evolved to become a celebration of Japanese games, and his leverage in the Japanese games industry cannot be underestimated. Sakurai himself said no one is in his position when it comes to drawing the industry together, and as pretentious as that sounds, he's right. As an achievement in games, Smash Ultimate proves that this shit is insane and doesn't have to make any sense, which is the fun of Smash as a series. If you want to see a video game character join the roster because they'd stand out and be fun to play, that's just as valid as representing one of Nintendo's most important franchises or having some arbitrary rule for their inclusion. There's no reason to overthink it unless you're cynical about Smash or you don't play other video games besides ones made by Nintendo. This does, however, amplify the issue of everyone wanting different things. Yeah, it's impossible to make everyone happy, but damn it, they tried. Just revealing Smash Ultimate with all previous fighters returning is a moment that can't be topped. They really said, "Fuck it, everyone's here!" The pre-release coverage for this game is something I don't think we'll see again for a very long time, out of any other game from any other developer. Every reveal, direct, and breakdown that promoted this game made longtime Smash fans feel like a kid on Christmas morning. Everyone is here and they're better than ever. Ganondorf has his sword. The Miis and Palutena were made into real characters. Donkey Kong has his Jungle Beat finisher as a final Smash. The list goes on and on. Nearly every stage is back. Simon Belmont, King K. Rool, Echo Fighters, a training room, a good classic mode, and adventure mode. This can't be emphasized enough. Nintendo listening to their fans is just something that never happens. The fact we got a Nintendo game that's just everything we want is special in its own way. But this game's crowning achievement arguably isn't the fighters. Sure, the playable roster is Smash's bread and butter, but there are other elements of the game Sakurai and the team value more than we do. They went out of their way to include characters as assist trophies, Mii costumes, spirits, bosses. That goal of including as many characters as possible influenced every facet of Smash Ultimate's design pitch. If a character can get in the game by any means necessary, it's an accomplishment. The challenge for Sakurai was how many characters he can negotiate getting for this game while serving as the lead director. The negotiating process for an assist trophy, boss, or Mii costume, I'm assuming, is similar to a fighter's inclusion. And that's crazy to think about given how much more cameos there are compared to fighters. Sakurai was able to negotiate thousands of characters to appear in this one game, and I firmly believe him and his development team are proud of having all of this representation. But Sakurai is not Nintendo. To Sakurai, this is a celebration. The assist trophies and other NPCs are worth including in his mind if they can stand out in some way and make people happy. To Nintendo, this is a business venture. A new character in Smash has to be presented in a way that's a big deal and drives interest in both Smash and their respective clientele. For example, if Joker wasn't included in Smash Ultimate, we probably wouldn't have gotten Persona 5 Royal ported to the Switch, or Banjo-Kazooie on Switch Online. At this point, it's impossible to say no to Sakurai or Nintendo with the influence they have throughout the Switch era. It doesn't matter how I feel about the quality of the inclusion because I trust Sakurai as a developer. He can make any character look cool in Smash, and that sums up how he got the insane polls he did for Ultimate. You would have to be fucking foolish to not want your character in Smash, and I think their design approach of saying fuck it worked a little too well since Sakurai himself also became a selling point for the series. If you were a Smash fan, you had to tune into all of his presentations. There is an art to Super Smash Bros. You get hyped for the newest character inclusion in the latest Nintendo Direct, which makes you want to talk about which characters they could include in the game, so you then tune into each and every Nintendo Direct with the hope they reveal a pre-release or DLC character. That infinite potential when it comes to character inclusions is how sad sacks of shit like me can still feel something after spending 4 years thinking about the frame data of Glover's forward air. I mean, one of the most requested characters for Smash is Geno from Super Mario RPG, a character from a 30-year-old SNES game who hasn't been relevant since that game and doesn't matter to anyone outside of his Newgrounds ass fucking fan base. But that almost doesn't matter because you know Sakurai would make Geno look cool as fuck. So fuck it. Why not? Do you think ARMS 2 will happen? Or a localization of Mother 3? Or a new Ice Climbers game? Probably not, but they're cool inclusions in Smash. Okay, maybe not ARMS. But anyways, this is probably why Nintendo decided on the DLC fighters and not Sakurai. Nintendo's approach to this impossible situation is to use Smash as a business opportunity to establish relationships with third parties while making sure they don't betray Sakurai's vision for the game. And that's what I appreciate the most about the Smash Bros. Series, how it doesn't bullshit its character inclusions. If you get Ken Masters, that's Ken fucking Masters. K. Rool, that's literally K. Rool. Banjo, that's Banjo, exactly how you remember him. Terry Bogard, Sora, Kazuya Mishima, Minecraft, Sephiroth, you get your variety of characters in their purest form, plain and simple. Don't change it, it's not a skin or loot box, they look, sound, and play exactly how you remember them or better. This is how Smash Ultimate became the way it is.